How long has this structure been here?
Well, when I moved in 22 years ago, it was still here. Oh, you mean when it was originally being used? Yeah, they did. The rhododendrons bloom in here wild.
Whoa!
Or
they did?
They were within the last few years.
Yeah, because look, there's some right there, right?
Yeah, they just spread out of here. But this is where they stored flowers for the winter.
Oh.
Now, they used to do weddings in here, but they own this farm.
Oh, geez. Nice.
Originally constructed in the 20s, ran a floral business, iris and azaleas. They didn't even say stuff about that.
Man.
Rhodies.
Overton Mill.
Oh, yeah. And propagating rhododendrons.
Yeah.
And this was before the locks, I guess. A lot of this was underwater.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the water level's a lot higher.
It actually is now lower. This was more of a peninsula out.
Yeah, like Rainier Beach. Rainier Avenue was the waterfront at one time.
But yeah, when we, 10 years ago, this thing hadn't fully collapsed. It was pretty junky, but you could actually
get inside there, huh?
You could have gotten in there. Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah, look at the color of the water.
This is what I thought, like my wife, when the flowers were blooming and everything, I think it's cool. Now, the trail used to go around here, but they've now...
It's still fun being down in here. I mean, this is...
Yeah, it must be cutting down on the people. My son sometimes, but I don't know
about these companies and the characters and stuff like that. Where did those ideas come from? What do they parallel in the real world? It's obviously it's about Seattle Mariners, right? Yeah.
Right.
But the companies, the law firms and the companies.
Oh, yeah. So, Tronquet is a lawyer who I know.
Oh, okay.
And so I gave him...
Lucky him.
There. And if I could go back, I would put names of every type of last name of a person I knew.
That's a good idea.
Because those people buy the books.
Right.
Tronquet is a very unusual name.
It is.
Tronque. So he sees that. And he gets the book placed in Elliott Bay Bookstore because he done work for him and stuff. And so I'm thinking, yeah, this is great.
Yeah, I mean, you get these people with big egos, and get them out there doing that.
Some of the names I had to fictionalize more because one of the boys, Adam, I think, was originally named Ryan. That's the age of my oldest son.
Oh.
He did not like that.
Didn't like
it's fictional. Ryan's a common name. It's not like Tronquet. So he said, "Oh yeah," and he's a lawyer like I am, and he lives in a townhouse in area of Seattle where I do, and so fictional, huh?
Right. Pretty close. You're close to real world.
The reason I really agreed to change it was that the great thing about the Word document, you can just change a word and say change it everywhere.
Right, yeah.
So all the Ryans became Adam. Except there are some glitches, like if you had the Brian, B-R-Y-A.
Right, yeah.
Then it became Badam. So, you needed proofreading after doing
right.
Like that. So I got his name out of there. But Matt is a son. I had Jeffrey Ann because I always wanted to name a girl that. Had no girls, but...
That was a cool name for a girl, huh?
Yeah, I knew some girls that were named after their dads when I was in high school. Michael Ann and... I always thought it was cool.
Yeah.
But my wife would have never let me do it anyway.
Yeah.
But,
and the girl later on may not have
fancied it. I don't know who the other one was, but I always thought that was a cool concept. But that's become a family joke. So you can get anything into your book that you ever wanted to. See, I didn't have to name a kid. I named a character.
Right.
So satisfied that on the bucket list. So some of it was to remember, to keep it straight. And I had the older brother as Ryan and the younger one as Matt. They were mine, just so that when I was writing, I could envision it.
Right.
Instead of just creating a total fiction. But
So how long do you think it actually physically took you to write that thing?
well,
Was it years or months?
it was years because I dabbled at different times. I retired in 2003
Yeah.
and published it in 2008. So
Oh.
I guess I had that on there, but there was a lot I did right when I retired before I dug in.
Uh-huh.
And there were a few distractions I got into where I left it. But I knew that I would never get it done if I didn't, the first thing in the morning, get up, spend an hour or two, if I could, on doing something.
Yeah. Treat it like
Even
a job.
if I only got one more paragraph in there.
Yeah.
And so I just did it day in and day out like you do running.
Right. Yeah.
And then eventually you have a product.
Yeah.
But it would have never been finished because you're always rewriting it.
Uh-huh.
I remember some famous writer saying he spent the whole morning putting a word or a comma or something into his manuscript, and then he spent the afternoon taking it back out again.
Oh boy.
Because you read this stuff, you play with it,
Yeah.
and it's never done.
And you're your own self-editor all the time.
Right.
You don't have everybody in the process with you.
Another famous writer, a woman, I remember I was listening at some sort of seminar, and she was saying, they were asking her, since you speak these different languages, do you translate your own works? And she says, no, because I'd keep rewriting it. You know,
Yeah.
you're never done.
Right.
But a baseball fan that was in the publishing business, I showed him my manuscript, because you can send it electronically. He was interested in seeing it, and suddenly he was proofing it
Wow.
and saying, hey, let's do it. So I thought, okay, I'm done.
Well, who's the badass baseball player that has a bad reputation? Is really good at his sport, but on the side he gets into a lot of mischief and stuff.
Yeah, by the way, since I finished that book in 2008, I would have to be refreshing my memory probably on a lot of it.
Yeah, because the only ones
But
I can
I
think
a
of
lot of
Ken
them were
Griffey Jr.
Composite type of people
Yeah.
that you have them do incidents, and did the things that are driven by the plot line of, yeah, but you got a guy with a scorecard supposedly controlling stuff. What would happen, which is all this.
Right.
That's all conjecture. So
Yeah.
you start imagining
You can go all
what
kinds of
could happen-
tangents.
what could happen that might be interesting.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah,
that's
boy.
not so much a character, but
Yeah.
but I think a lot of those were composites. Now, some of the characters not on the baseball field would be driven more from real life, because you have, like my wife, she gets in the dialogue of Jamie's, it used to be Carlo, but I think he became Jamie, but
Uh-huh.
because we have this all the time. You want to go to a restaurant? Yeah. Where do you want to go?
Uh-huh.
Don't care. Okay. How about we go down to Torero's? I don't want Mexican food. Okay, then what do you want? Just pick.
Right.
No, I'll go anywhere but there. So you give the Italian.
And you
then
picked the
get-
wrong
and
one.
So you just keep picking. Why don't you just tell me? Because by the
Yeah,
time
you-
she rules them all out.
Yeah.
So I found it, or the dialogue about the argument we had, what we were going to do if we won the $50,000 in the lottery.
Yeah.
You know, back when they first started in Washington State, we're in the car, and I'm saying I'm going to quit my job. We're going to live more simply, and then I won't have to work, but I can do things like write or whatever.
Right.
No, you're not going to quit. You are not quitting your job. So we're arguing so vehemently. One of the kids in the back seat says, "Did we just win the lottery?" Like, no, we are fighting over it.
Hypothetically.
So we're not even going to be happy if we win the lottery. It's just going to be another argument. So all of those conversations
Yeah.
come from real life, because you want to. It's easier to write about experientially, make it real. So my kids would say, "What did you put everything you ever did or said in here?" They've heard all the old stories.
Right. This
so you-
sounds familiar.
So they're the place holding as you're moving the story forward.
Yeah.
And developing a character. So yes, the people other than the baseball players are more real than the baseball players, being composites or speculative. Like,
Right.
what if somebody that was a poor player suddenly got superpowers because somebody
Yeah.
was able to grant them that.
Because in the process, what you did for me, you made a book for me that I had to read it almost in one setting because it just kept leading me from one thing to the other. I couldn't, what's the next thing that's going to pop up here? This is pretty interesting, And then knowing you from the past too, and then what you wrote on the last page, I said, shit, this is going to be fun.
It was a fun process.
Yeah.
That I like to think in the world we live in, it's like a great opportunity for people. Like, I can run in the same marathon as Alberto Salazar and accomplish something,
Right.
and yet I'm 2 hours behind him.
Yeah, right. He's already taken a nap by the time we're done.
And the same with writing. You can do, I see these people doing portraits and art on the hillside, because that's what they want to do. So I could write a book. And in this day and age with the electronics and the self-publishing and how they can publish them one at a time, anybody can do it if they want.
Yeah.
So then you can get the same experience on a lesser
Right, a larger,
level.
smaller
and while
scale.
I was writing it, I was reading Jonathan Franzen's book, The Corrections. And I realized there's no way I'm a writer the way he's a writer. So do you give up or do you just have
just
it
do
on
your own
that
thing.
level?
Yeah.
And I'm not so embarrassed about, some of the, you kind of put yourself out there because your life is in it. And
I know it.
And other people that aren't doing it don't even know how hard it is until you try to do it.
Right.
It's like people always say, I could be a newscaster and do the news.
Yeah.
Well, you can't, because we've done it inside Boeing to tape people that weren't in that business. And you see how bad you look on tape, or doing a pre-deposition, and you're saying, no, there is a very talent that you don't notice.
Am I going to win the case with this?
They make it look so easy. If I'm doing a deposition, I look like I was lying like crazy on camera. All the mannerisms and stuff, which is really better.
Yeah.
Anyhow, it was a fun experience, like, to do something that didn't mean to insult the people who are in the craft, that, hey, it takes years, you got to go take classes and do stuff, and they're right. I pick up a book, and it says 20 mistakes first time authors make. I said, well, I needed this before I wrote the thing. I made all these mistakes.
Hi, guys. So, does Seattle U have a big alumni organization? I'm just thinking that would be an interesting thing that, to publish an article out in their alumni magazine.
Yeah, I used to be alumni director at Seattle U.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, shit, then they do have one. They probably had a real good one.
Now they have real ones.
Oh, now they have a real one. Oh, God.
Part of university relations, my first 2 years there, was as alumni director. They had a little alumni house even. It was kind of cool. And then I went into development, straight fundraising side. But let's see. Well, let us go around here, I guess.